Okay, students, so we're here with the Unit 5 test review. Alright, so we're going to go in depth on all different kinds of triangles. And in all seriousness, if you just want to listen, not write this down, that's fine, but screenshot what I write down and insert it in here. Or if you want to write as I go, that's fine. But this is the one time where you can screenshot and put it in the notes. So acute, this is a triangle with all three angles are acute. That's it. That's the only qualification. Alright? So it's going to be something like this. Alright? Where I'm just going to make these up, but this is like 50. This is 60. And this is 70 degrees. Alright? Every angle measure is different. And they're all, or time out, they don't all have to be different, but they all have to be less than 90 degrees. Right? So that's acute. Obtuse, a fun fact about obtuse triangles is has one obtuse angle. Alright, what do we mean by that? Again, these are just generic drawings. There's like billions of different kinds. Alright, we'll make this a right or obtuse isosceles just for fun, but we can say this is 110 degrees. Alright, really, this is the only piece of information we need to know. In fact, I'll delete those tick marks. We technically don't need to know that. Just one obtuse angle, and fun fact, it can only have one obtuse angle. It can't have two or three. Triangles can only have one obtuse angle at a time. Right triangle has one right angle. Alright, and again, it can only have one right angle. Looks something like this. Alright, so these are some qualifications. So to classify a triangle by acute, all three angles are acute. Obtuse has one obtuse angle. Right has one right angle. Alright, some of these next ones, we just got to know these words. There's no other excuse. Scalene, no. Congruent. Sides. Alright, so this could be any kind of triangle. Could look something like this, just something quirky. Alright. It could be something where like that's 7, that's 4, and that's 3. Alright, so scalene has no congruent sides. Scalene triangles can be obtuse, acute, or even a right triangle. Isosceles. Alright, this seems to be one we talk about a lot. Isosceles has two congruent sides. It's technically, the definition is at least two congruent, but we'll just write two congruent sides. Alright, and we'll draw a stereotypical picture. It's going to look just something like this. Alright. And remember, isosceles, a side effect is two congruent angles. Because there's that relationship. We might talk about this later in the notes. But if you have two congruent sides, you have two congruent angles. Scalene has no congruent angles. And this really leads us into the next thing. It's equilateral, equiangular. Equilateral, equiangular. Three congruent sides. Three congruent angles. Remember, a triangle has to be both at the same time. Alright, it can't be just one of them. Handwriting got a little sloppy. Alright, and the angles always have to be 60 degrees. And we'll just say this side length's 5 for fun. It could be anything. Alright, make a list of triangles that would be impossible to create. Well, you can't have right equilateral or even an obtuse equilateral. Alright, these are impossible because when you have an equilateral triangle, all angles have to be 60 degrees. And that's true for the obtuse equilateral part, where all the angles have to be 60 degrees in an equilateral, so none of the angles can be obtuse or none of the angles can be right. Okay, and then you could also say scalene equiangular. Because when it's equiangular, all sides have to be the same. Technically, you can have isosceles equiangular. I don't really like the definition of isosceles, so I'm not going to write this down. But isosceles, at least two congruent sides. That's the official definition. Not exactly, it's at least. So technically, you can have equiangular isosceles. But nonetheless, last problem for this one is we're just going to do an algebra problem, where we're going to find the measures of all three angles and classify it by angles and sides. Alright, so remember, triangles add up to 180 degrees. Alright, that's kind of a big punchline, the triangle sum theorem. So I'm going to do 3x plus 8 plus 5x minus 32 plus 2x plus 4, because all I did was take all these angles and add them to 180 degrees. Alright, angle A plus angle B plus angle C adds up to 180 degrees, so I have all this junk. Now remember, the first thing I'm going to do is combine like terms. So I'm going to get 10x, and then I'm going to get, hopefully I avoid any brain farts, minus 20 equals 180, because 8 minus 32 plus 4 is negative 20. So now I have to start undoing some operations, so I'm going to plus 20 to both sides. I'm going to get 10x equals 200. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 10. And x equals 20. Alright, so I need to plug it back in to classify it by angles and sides. So the measure of angle A equals 3 times 20 plus 8 is 68. Measure of angle B is 5 times 20 minus 32, which I believe is 68. And then the last one is the measure of angle C. It's going to be 2 times 20 plus 4 equals 44 degrees. Alright, so notice how all of these angles are acute, but we have two that are the same. So we know this is an acute isosceles. Alright, that's it for video 1. These notes are a little lengthy, but it's to prepare us for a test, so it's like us just putting a little extra work into study. So stay tuned for more.